Have you ever heard of the idea called the wisdom of crowds? It's a fascinating theory. The idea is that when a large group of people make individual guesses or estimates, the average of their guesses often ends up being more accurate than what individual people in the group could guess on their own. One of the most famous examples of this happened back in 1906 at a livestock exhibition event in England. At this event, nearly 800 people tried to guess how much an ox on display would weigh after it is slaughtered and dressed. When all their votes were collected and averaged, the result was almost perfect: 1,197 pounds compared to the actual weight of 1,198 pounds. Pretty amazing, right? Was that just a lucky coincidence? Actually, similar results have been observed many times in different situations, like guessing the number of jelly beans in a large glass jar. This consistent pattern is what gave rise to the idea of the wisdom of crowds. Let's break this down in simple terms. When someone makes a guess, we can think of it as having two parts: the actual, true value they're trying to guess, and their personal bias or error. The theory behind the wisdom of crowds suggests that people's biases distribute over the population. So, when you take a large group of people and average their guesses, the individual biases tend to cancel each other out, leaving you with a result that's surprisingly close to the truth. But there is something bold, almost magical, about this idea. For us to be able to talk about the bias or its distribution, the crowd as a whole must already know the true value, the very quantity that the people in the crowd are trying to guess. Sounds kind of contradictory, doesn't it? Maybe that's why the name wisdom of crowds fits so well. If we accept this bold idea and move forward, the rest is all about statistics. Some people overestimate, while others underestimate, and their biases are influenced by all sorts of factors, like their past experiences, personality, the context in which the question was asked, and even the person's mood. But when we gather enough guesses and calculate the average, these biases tend to cancel each other out. So, are people really that balanced? Well, the cases where the wisdom of crowds has worked suggest that, at least in these situations, they are. For the wisdom of crowds to work, there are two important conditions that need to be met. First, the crowd needs to be diverse, made up of people with a variety of backgrounds. This diversity helps balance out individual biases, as we've discussed before. Second, each person's estimate must be made independently, without being influenced by what others think. Large crowds totally can make faulty decisions. Extreme examples include cases like bank runs or stampedes, where people, influenced by the actions of others, trigger chaotic and panicked reactions within the crowd. Today, with the internet and social media making it very easy to spread influential information, assuring independence of people's judgment can be a challenge. Let's go back to the ox's weight example we talked about earlier. In that crowd, there were some experts, like butchers and farmers, who were really skilled at making these kinds of estimates. But there were also plenty of regular people who had no special expertise. Amazingly, when everyone's guesses were combined, the crowd's average guess was more accurate than the guesses of most of the individual experts. Pretty impressive, isn't it? So here's a takeaway. When you're putting together a team for a project, it might seem like a good idea to gather only the top performers to get the best results. But these high achievers often come from similar backgrounds, which means they might all share the same biases. On the other hand, if you create a diverse team, even if not everyone is a top performer, they can bring different perspectives. This diversity helps the team make better decisions over time, especially when dealing with uncertainty. That's why diversity and inclusion are so important, even if it doesn't seem obvious at first.